planet Dolan.
From almost facing a watery death to suffering serious burns in the land of Oz, we count 9 horrifying accidents that happened on movie sets. Hello there, my name is Nixium, Lord of the Dead, and today I will be reading the words on this here piece of paper for your enjoyment. Number 9. Maximum Overdrive. Stephen King made his directorial debut with this sci-fi horror comedy about a comet that makes machines come to life and attack their human creators. In a way, something similar happened to one of the crew members on the set. Cinematographer Armando Nazuzzi was injured while filming a scene where a character is chased by a sentient lawnmower. The camera sat on a wooden stand for one shot that would make the lawnmower look big and menacing, with its revolving blades coming close to the camera. Well, the safety equipment was removed from the lawnmower to expose the blades, and a device was added to make it go faster via remote control. When the camera rolled, the lawnmower glided up to the camera, but ended up chopping at the wooden stand, sending a series of splinters into Nazuzzi's face. He ended up losing an eye, and he sued King and other crew members for damages. Number 8. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. The second to last Harry Potter film was a much anticipated release for fans, but what many didn't know was that an accident occurred on set and it changed the life of one particular crew member. Stunt performer David Holmes, who was star Daniel Radcliffe's double for all the previous entries, was rehearsing a flying stunt involving an explosion. Holmes was thrown against a wall before falling to the ground at Warner Brothers Studios in Leveston, England. Remaining conscious, Holmes told crew members that he could not feel his legs. He could move his arms, but just barely. The former gymnast ended up fracturing his neck, leaving him permanently paralyzed from the neck down. Sadly, Holmes was only 25 years old when the accident occurred. Number 7. Triple X. Another stunt performer found himself in trouble, but this time he wasn't as lucky. Stunt performer Harry O'Connor was in the Czech Republic doing stunt work for the Vin Diesel action film Triple X. O'Connor was on a paraglider, being pulled at high speeds. He hit a pillar of the Palacky Bridge in Prague and died on impact. Prague authorities even investigated whether the accident was caused by a technical issue or by the filmmakers not obeying safety rules. As a tribute to O'Connor's work, the scene was included in the finished movie, minus his death. Number 6. Top Gun. This popular military movie from the 80s that dealt with Navy pilots in flight school had several impressive aerial stunts. One of the stunt pilots performing these stunts was Art Shaw. The veteran stunt pilot was performing an aerial stunt known as an inverted flat spin, an easy maneuver for an experienced pilot such as Shaw. The script said the plane was supposed to go through a spin over water. While midway through the stunt, Shaw radioed to the crew that he was having a problem, but he never mentioned what the problem was. His plane never stabilized from the maneuver, and it plunged into the Pacific Ocean. Unfortunately, Shaw and his plane have never been recovered. To honor Shaw's memory, the film was dedicated to him. Number 5. The Wizard of Oz. Margaret Hamilton played one of the most memorable villains in film history, the Wicked Witch of the West. Throughout the film, her character tormented young Dorothy Gale and her friends. But during the filming of one scene, Hamilton encountered some horror of her own. After threatening Dorothy in Munchkinland shortly after her arrival, the Wicked Witch runs away and vanishes in a huge cloud of smoke. Well, actually, Hamilton had to stand on a trap door a certain way so that the pyrotechnics wouldn't harm her. Unfortunately, on the second take, the trap door was delayed in bringing the actress down to safety. The results were a second-degree burn on her face and a third-degree burn on her hand. Her burns cost Hamilton a hospital stay, followed by a recuperation at home for 6 weeks before returning to work on the film. She only agreed to return to filming as long as there were, quote, no more fireworks. Number 4. Thor, The Dark World. Jamie Alexander, like Margaret Hamilton, is further proof that the actors are just as prone to on-set accidents as stunt performers and crew members. In the Thor movies, Alexander portrays warrior Lady Sif. One rainy night, while filming a scene in London, the actress slipped on a metal staircase and fell. She sustained a herniated disc, a torn rhomboid muscle in her upper back, a dislocated shoulder, and she chipped 11 of her vertebrae. The accident took Alexander out of filming for a month. After her 1-month hiatus, Alexander was back in her Lady Sif outfit and kicking ass. Number 3. Now You See Me. Safety is very important on a movie set, especially when there's a risky stunt involved. Sometimes, despite the safety precautions taken, accidents will still happen. This was the case with actress Isla Fisher. Fisher played a female Houdini in Now You See Me, which was about a group of magicians who use their skills to rob banks. Her character is first introduced when she is shackled and thrown into a large tank of water. In the script, it called for the character to pound on the glass of the tank to give the impression of distress, so nobody thought Fisher was actually in peril when she started to drown for real when her chains tangled. There was a stunt diver with an emergency oxygen tank, but he was too far from the water tank. Another safety feature was a kill switch inside the tank that Fisher could push and drain the water in a matter of seconds, but she couldn't reach it. Luckily, she was able to calm herself down long enough to weasel her way out of the shackles and get to safety. Number 2. The Crow. The old saying, art imitates life, came into play on this movie set. The Crow told the story about a rock star who comes back to life to avenge the murders of him and his fiancée. The moment where he and his friend's fiancée are murdered became a little bit too real. The scene called for star Brandon Lee to walk into his apartment carrying a grocery bag and to get shot. When the actor playing an attacker fired his prop gun at Lee, Lee would trigger a small explosion called a squib in the bag by a switch at the bottom of it. The explosion in the bag caused a projectile to lodge itself into the actor's abdomen. Instead of falling forward, as he was supposed to, Lee fell backwards. He was rushed to the hospital where he later died, despite surgery to repair the damage that had been done. A rumor went around that the footage of Lee's death actually made it into the final film. But this is untrue, as all the footage of Lee's death was turned over to the police for investigation. Number 1. Twilight Zone, the movie. In the early 80s, a major accident occurred while filming the first of 4 segments of The Twilight Zone, the movie. The segment was about a bigot, played by Vic Morrow, who goes back in time to experience the suffering of the very people he hates through various eras of persecution, including the Vietnam War and Nazi Germany. One scene called for Moreau to carry 2 Vietnamese children across a river while a US helicopter chased after them. The scene was supposed to be full of various pyrotechnic effects as well. When one of the explosions went off, it caused the tail rotor to come off of the helicopter. As a result, the helicopter landed on Moreau and the children. One of the children was crushed to death by one of the skids, while Moreau and the other child were decapitated and brutally mutilated by the helicopter's top rotor blades. The children were only 7 and 6 years old. The director of the segment, John Landis, and some other crew members, including the helicopter's pilot and one of the explosive specialists, were acquitted of manslaughter charges. The families of the 2 children who were killed collected millions of dollars in a series of civil lawsuits. It seems I must leave you now, mortals, but don't worry. I shall return. She went to the girls' bedrooms and she set them on fire. When she was done, Martha closed the doors to try and contain the fire. An hour after she left, their brother returned home and noticed the smoke, but by then, the fire had burned itself out.